You stand alone in the twilight prehistoric forest, surrounded by deep silence. A twig snaps behind a dense bush just yards away. Your heart rate increases instantly as you peer into the thick leaves, looking for a predator. For hundreds of thousands of years, speech has been your most powerful social tool. But what if we had never developed it? What if the ability to speak had never emerged in our ancestors? Without speech, your life is completely silent. Your daily routine is dominated by pointing, grunting, and expressive hand gestures. Today, we take our spoken conversations completely for granted. But anthropologists believe speech was the spark that ignited human civilization. Without speech, there is no spoken storytelling. Everything you know must be demonstrated through direct physical imitation. No spoken warnings about dangerous predators in the distance. How would your early ancestors coordinate a group hunt without a single word? Harvard evolutionary biologists suggest that speech required specialized vocal anatomy. The descent of the larynx allowed us to make a wide variety of clear vowel sounds. Neanderthals had a similar anatomy, but their vocal range was likely much narrower. Some researchers believe they communicated using musical grunts and basic gestures. But what if even those basic vocalizations had failed to develop? What if we remained as quiet as chimpanzees in the canopy? Without words, your ancestors would rely entirely on gestural communication. You point to a distant berry bush, gesturing with a waving hand. You mimic the heavy stomping of a mammoth to warn your group of danger. Your facial expressions become incredibly complex and highly expressive. Psychologist Michael Corballis argued that language began with hand movements. Gestures allowed early hominids to share basic thoughts and coordinate simple tasks. But hand signals require a direct line of sight. You cannot gesture to someone in the pitch-black, prehistoric night. How do you warn your sleeping tribe of an approaching predator when you cannot see? A silent scream is easily missed in the dark. You shiver in the cold, unable to call for help. Your silent gestures are useless in the shadows of the forest. Without speech, you cannot engage in vocal grooming. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar proposed that speech evolved as a form of social grooming. Chimpanzees spend hours picking dirt from each other's fur to maintain social bonds. This physical grooming limits their group size to about 50 members. Spoken language allowed us to groom multiple allies simultaneously through conversation. It expanded our natural social circle to the famous Dunbar's number of 150. Without speech, you are stuck in the physical grooming loop. You must sit for hours picking dirt from your partner's hair to show loyalty. This means your tribe cannot grow beyond a small, fragile group. A small tribe is highly vulnerable to rival groups and environmental changes. How would you defend your territory when your group is so small? You are limited by the physical constraints of touch. No sharing of secrets or plotting alliances around the campfire. Social connections are shallow and easily broken. Without speech, the transmission of complex technology collapses. You try to show a young stickman how to shape a complex flint hand axe. You tap the stone repeatedly, gesturing with your hands. But without verbal explanations, the subtle angle of the strike is lost. Anthropologists studying early toolmaking found that verbal instructions speed up learning. Without words, it takes years of constant observation to master basic flint knapping. Complex tools like bone needles and stone-tipped spears are never invented. You are stuck using simple, blunt stones for your daily survival. No bow and arrow, no sewn clothing, and no complex shelter. How does your body survive the freezing winters of the Ice Age? You shiver under a simple, unsewn fur pelt. You cannot explain how to construct a sturdy wooden trap. Your technological progress is completely stalled for generations. Without speech, childcare and cooperation become incredibly difficult. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy studied how cooperative breeding shaped human empathy. Early human mothers trusted other group members to hold and feed their babies. This mutual trust relied on soft vocal reassurances and verbal agreements. Without words, a mother cannot easily trust others with her newborn child. She clutches her baby tightly, refusing to let anyone else touch it. No shared babysitting, no collective gatherers, and no cooperative nurseries. Every mother must forage for food while carrying her heavy child. Your survival rate drops dramatically as mothers become exhausted. How can a mother defend herself when she is carrying a crying baby? The silent savanna offers no mercy to the weak. Without group parenting, early child mortality skyrockets. Without speech, your inner cognitive world is also restricted. You look at the starry night sky, feeling a sense of wonder. But you have no words to define the stars, the moon, or the seasons. Your brain cannot easily categorize abstract concepts like time, honor, or spirits. Linguists argue that language provides the structure for complex inner thought. Without words, your memory is based purely on visual and sensory recalls. You cannot plan a detailed strategy for the next moon cycle. You only react to the immediate present, like other wild animals. No mythology, no shared beliefs, and no common laws. What keeps your small tribe together when there are no shared stories? A group without stories is just a collection of individuals. You lack an inner voice to debate your own choices. Your thoughts are simple reaction loops to sensory inputs. Without speech, early symbolic expression takes a different path. You enter a deep, silent cave carrying a burning torch. You press your clay-covered hand against the cold stone wall, leaving a print. Researcher Leslie Van Gelder studied prehistoric finger flutings in French caves. She found that early humans, including children, left visual marks on cave walls. Without words, these cave drawings are not just art, they are your primary language. A drawing of a bison warns others of the herds in the valley. A line of handprints shows which families belong to the territory. But visual marks are static and cannot convey complex, dynamic ideas. You cannot draw a philosophical debate or a complex legal system. Your culture remains frozen in stone. The messages are raw, silent carvings on cold rocks. Without speech, the human spark would have quietly faded. No villages, no agriculture, and no cities. You cannot organize thousands of unrelated people to build a canal. Without language, there is no way to write laws, keep records, or trade goods. The Bronze Age, the Iron Age, and the Silicon Age never happened. A timeline shows stone tools extending for millions of years with no change. You are just another quiet animal in the vast, wild forest. A footnote in the geological record, easily overlooked by future species. You shiver in the dark, waiting for the sunrise, hoping to survive another day. No libraries, no space travel, and no internet. You live and die in the same silent forests, leaving no historical record. But we did develop speech. We turned basic grunts into a rich, complex web of spoken words. We used language to build massive empires, write poetry, and map the cosmos. Speech allowed us to share our minds, connecting us across time and space. It is the ultimate tool that defines who we are. Look around your modern world, filled with voices, music, and text. None of this exists without that ancient vocal spark. Remember the voice. It is the breath of humanity. It is who you are.